Content warning. This film contains references to self-harm and suicidal ideation. NDIS and Feros Care logo. Title: Stigma Doesn't Live Here. Stories of Mental Health Resilience. Brett's story.
My name is Brett, 33. I love my dog. I love Scruffy to rock every day. My favourite things are cars, buildings. I am inspired, doesn't like me.
Brett's mum, Rosalind, looks up at an evening sky. Rosalind.
I had him when I was relatively young. I was only 21, and then he became sick when he was around about 6 months of age, and that's when our journey began. He just wasn't recovering. He took him to the hospital. Within 24 hours, we were rushed down to hospital in Brisbane, and we were extremely lucky. We had a chromatologist on the floor at the same time, and they discovered that he, one, had truncus arteriosus, which is 3 different things wrong with your heart, and he also had DiGeorge syndrome, as well as schizophrenia, as well as morbid depression. The last 2 were diagnosed about 18 months ago. The realisation that life was going to be a fight for him. It was very much the unknown, but at no point was I scared. Okay, this is where we're at and how we're going to make it work. It was extremely stressful for all of the family because we were both young, lots of emotions, but at the same time, my focus was just on this child that needed that support. Oh look, proud mum moment was the first time that he stood. Brett never does things in a small manner. So he was 4, he climbed up on top of the coffee table and he stood and he took his first step. That was an amazing moment. And I'm standing there jumping and clapping and cheering, and because up until that moment we weren't sure whether he would actually walk. So.
Brett.
Big family. I'm very lucky. I have mum, Rachel.
Rosalind.
I just introduced Brett as himself. Right from the get-go, he was raised as an everyday child. He had the same rules applied to his sisters as applied to him. He had chores. He had to achieve things. Yes, there may have been slight modifications around that, but for the whole, he had to do exactly what the rest of the family did. He was always raised with the knowledge that he would one day go to high school. So I started planning when he was 6 what he would be doing at 18. I started planning at 15 what his life would look like when he first wanted to leave home. He eventually left home at around about 21. He was in his own place, but his sister was right next door. And then after about 2 years, she moved out and he stayed. And so it was wonderful. But then he had his episode. And so for 2 years, he had to come home.
Brett.
Sometimes I hear voices. It's trouble. That made me angry.
Rosalind.
The voices that he had always heard since he was about 6 were very positive voices, suddenly became very negative ones, to the point where he was self-harming, he had suicidational thoughts. Because for Brett, the voices manifested themselves in TVs, fans, phones, radio. He literally demolished his home. But the neighbours called the police because of all the noise. They went round, he answered the door, they said, "Is everything all right?" He went, "Yep," and they went. I went round the next morning just on one of those gut feelings to walk into a place where the windows were shattered, the doors were shattered, the TV was shattered, there was glass everywhere. He'd gone to work. When he came home from work, I noticed he was limping and I said, "What's going on there?" Took his shoe off and he actually had glass embedded in his feet.
A fan moves slowly in Brett's home. Rosalind smiles at Brett from the driver's seat as Brett gets into the passenger seat of her car.
It was a lot of work. He did some therapy. We've managed to get him into some psychology appointments and things like that.
Brett.
Parents, different sport methods. Something helps me.
Rosalind.
And then he obviously has his therapist, so his OT specialist and whatnot. But I think the biggest impact really was in Care Kitchen.
Brett in Care Kitchen wearing his black chef uniform.
Slowly grow back into that confident person in a safe and comfortable thing. Don't get me wrong, they've all played a part in his recovery, so it's really important to recognise that as well. But I truly believe that has seen him recover faster.
Brett.
Yeah, Dad did it. I'm not doing it. I'm chef did it.
Roslyn.
Right from the get-go, the chef comes in, they have a bit of a chat about what they're making. So there's lots of moving around the kitchen, talking to the other participants to ask for various ingredients because they're placed strategically around. So it's really encouraging that communication. I don't know, you can see it in his face. He just gets a real buzz. For him, the biggest part of it is not so much the making of it. Don't get me wrong, very rarely does stuff come home, but when he does and we say how amazing it is, the look on his face, he blossoms.
Brett and Roslyn smiling. On screen, if you or a loved one are experiencing mental illness or distress, please reach out to one of the below organisations in Australia. Lifeline 13 11 14, Beyond Blue 1300 224 636, 13 Yarn 139 276. Share the stories and spread the message that stigma doesn't live here. feroscare.com.au/hope